Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Frenemies, joined as always by David Swor. I am DJ Cox. And here we are together once again, man. We just can't seem to get somebody to join us here, man. I don't know what it is. I don't know if we smell too bad and people
Hey,
want to be around us, but
those TTU baseball players are a bunch of wimps. I'm calling you out, Lee Sawyers. I'm calling you out, Josh Hill. Hey, how are you going to plan a vacation the 1 week we asked you to do something? Brad Guffey, what are you doing? I mean, come on, guys. Big Tater, I don't know what the problem is. I think you guys are just afraid to come on the show. I don't get it. I mean,
man,
who wouldn't want to be on this show with thousands and thousands of viewers and the millions out all over the world? I'm just like Dr. Bowler was back in the day, the thousands watching on TV. I mean, you guys should want to be on our show. We'll make you famous.
that's right, man. It's totally right. We got so many guys that need to be on this show that just need to come hang out with us. And on a
Most
somber note,
disappointing one is Lee. I mean,
yeah,
Lee, what's the problem, buddy? I mean, I don't know. I just don't know what else to say right now.
we got to get him for sure, man. So, David, as always, tonight's episode brought to you by Coach Hall's White Sauce, our college baseball coach at Tennessee Temple University. Make sure you get some of this stuff. Very good. What is it, David? It's whitesauce.com, and you can find it on Facebook as well. Is that what it is?
It's whitesauce.org.
.org. Okay.
Yep. Or you look it up on Facebook. The more you order, the cheaper it is. You can't beat it. Great people, great business. So you guys out there, all you TTU baseball players, support Coach Hall in his venture, and you won't regret it.
Absolutely. And so, David, one thing I do want to mention here as we get going, one of our former teammates, Matt Lockleader, was actually supposed to join us tonight. And unfortunately, his brother passed away last week, 51 years old, of a heart problem. And man, our thoughts and prayers definitely are with Matt and his family this week and tonight for sure. Really tough to go through that. I know he was really close with his brother there. So our thoughts and prayers are definitely with him, and hopefully he can come on soon. But obviously he's got bigger and more important things to do right now. And we just hope that everything goes well with him and that they can get through this and find peace with God through all this. So on this note, David, we're going to begin the show with some passings that have happened this year as well. We had a crazy year as we get into 2021 here. 2020 was a tough year for former MLB guys, and the final numbers that came through, David, are 111 former MLB guys that passed away this year, and 7 of them were Hall of Famers. So Hall of Fame is going to look a lot different when they go back there in June, hopefully to do the ceremony this year. And David, one of the coolest things that I like about watching that show is when they introduce every Hall of Famer and he comes in and they have a seat. That's just really cool, man. It's just to see that many awesome players in one spot, to see the other guys join them is really cool. And there's definitely going to be a lot of holes this year with the many guys that we lost. And there were 7 of them. And the one that we most recently lost is Phil Niekro. Phil Niekro, man, we didn't get to see too much of him, David, when he pitched. He ended his career in 87, I believe. So we caught the tail end of his career there when he wasn't with the Braves, which is where he spent most of his career. 318 wins, 3.35 ERA over a 24-year career. He spent 21 seasons with the Atlanta Braves, 2 with the Cleveland Indians and 2 with the Yankees, and then 1 with Toronto. And I believe he went back to the Braves to finish his career. They signed him. I think a lot of teams do that, as kind of sign somebody who's been with them forever to end their career there. His brother Joe Niekro pitched in the majors for 22 years as well. That's awesome, man. And he was 221 and 204 with a 3.59 ERA. Those two were awesome, man. I don't know if I believe they are 1 and 2. They're number 1, I should say, in brother combinations for wins. I don't think anybody's even close as far as that goes. So I believe Joe passed away a long time ago, and now Phil is gone, which is really sad. Phil pitched from the age 25 to age 48. 48, David. Me and you were just talking before the show about hanging in there for softball at the age of 40 and how we just are struggling now, man. I don't know how he did it at the high level like that all the way until 48. Well, I kind of do know how he did it. He had a knuckleball.
Yeah.
We'll get into that a little bit too. But man, 48 years old. I don't care what you're doing. That's amazing to me. David, you threw a knuckleball too, and I seem to remember one time you plunked me with it in practice. I was so mad at you. You got me right in the leg, man.
It's the hardest pitch to hit, and it's the hardest pitch to throw. I literally had no idea where it was going. And I'm gonna be honest with you, DJ. It's one of my biggest regrets from Temple is ditching that thing. It was nasty, but I had no idea where it was going. I wish we'd have had somebody. I used a different grip than Necro. I actually looked at Necro's grip today, just checking it out. I used a totally different grip than he did, but man, I don't know if you've seen any video of him throwing, but it looks like Bugs Bunny or something, man. It's crazy. And DJ, I got to tell you a funny story about Phil Necro. One of my earliest baseball memories. Keep in mind, my dad was a Yankee fan. I, for some reason, can remember, I would have been like 5 years old, seeing Phil Necro pitch on TV and wondering what that old man was doing out there with those players. If you remember, he like aged really young. His hair went white, and I mean, he looked like a grandpa at 46 years old. But what an impressive career. And DJ, I got to ask you, me and you value longevity a little bit different here. So what do you make of Phil Necro's Hall? It took him 5 times to get in. He won 318 games, 3,300 strikeouts. And some idiot sports writer votes against him every year, or doesn't vote for him, I should say. What do you make of Phil Necro's Hall of Fame career? And I want to say this before I let you interject. DJ, he had 19 seasons of 200 innings or more. 19 seasons. Now, I know like longevity isn't everything, but man, that's just unheard of. There may not be 5 pitchers. There won't be 5 pitchers this year that pitched 200 innings. There definitely will not be. He did it 19 times. And not only at 19 times, but at a high level, 19 times. 3.35 ERA. Man, that's a guy I want on my team right there. Somebody that I can give the ball to and know he's going to go 7 innings a start almost regardless. But back to my question. How can you devalue a guy that goes 19 straight seasons pitching 200 innings?
Well, first of all, I don't really care about the innings pitched as a Hall of Fame stat. You know that I don't care about that stat. It's what you do with those innings. I know it's impressive. I 100% agree that is impressive, but it doesn't help his Hall of Fame case. I mean, you have to put the numbers up in those innings to be a Hall of Famer. You can't just go out there and pitch 200 innings every year and be a Hall of Famer. So I argue with you about innings pitched all the time. I'm not a fan of that stat. I am very impressed by that stat, but it doesn't mean anything to me as far as his Hall of Fame case.
I agree with you. It's not a Hall of Fame stat, but we've had this discussion amongst pitchers. And honestly, over the last couple of years, the Yankees, I'm a Yankee fan, obviously. We're going to talk about James Paxton here in a minute. Would you rather have 160 James Paxton innings or 200 innings of Tanaka? Similar pitchers. You know, let's say Tanaka's 375 and James Paxton's 350. Which one do you want?
Yeah, I mean, if it's close like that, it's tough. You know, you probably want the guy going more innings. You're right. I agree.
I want the guy that I can hand the ball to and say, hey, get me 7 innings. Don't come back until it's done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I just, as a pitcher, I really value those guys that can stay in the game. They just have a knack for staying in the game and staying competitive. I definitely have a lack of respect for 5-inning pitchers. I'm sorry to all you guys out there that were 5-inning pitchers. To be honest with you, I wasn't a deep in the game guy. I didn't have enough pitches that could sustain me that long. So I was usually a 4 to 5-inning guy in college. But got those guys that could pitch, you know, in the 7th inning, and we know who those guys were on our team. Those are the guys you want to hand the ball to in a playoff matchup, and I really value that personally.
So honestly, David, after looking at his stats for a while, he was around so long, he got the magic numbers. Like, just being honest. I mean, when you pitch that long, you're going to get it. When you break down his stats, He doesn't have 10 dominant seasons. He's not even close to that. I guess, if you get the magic numbers and can hang around that long at 48, you're pretty special indeed. I give you that. And I do believe he's a Hall of Famer. I'm not going to argue against that at all. He definitely was a Hall of Famer. Like I said, I caught him in the very end of his career, like you were saying, just in 86 and 87. I was amazed at the way the ball came off his hand, so slow with that knuckleball. And then Bob Euchre tells a pretty funny story about Phil. He encouraged Phil to throw the knuckleball in the game. He was one of the guys that egged him on. Hey, you got to do this in the game. You really do. And Euchre said, throw it and I'll try to catch it. Just throw it. And so Phil led the league in ERA one year with a 1.87 ERA. And Euchre led the league in pass balls. And so Euchre was quoted as saying, catching Niekro's knuckleball was great. I got to meet a lot of important people. They all sat in the front row. So, man, Phil Niekro, man, like you were saying, just if you can last that long and pile up numbers like that, I'm not saying he did get the magic number, so I'm okay with that. But, is it as impressive? I don't know, man. If you have 10 dominant seasons as opposed to 24 okay seasons and just pile numbers up, I don't know, man. That's kind of where we differentiate a little bit, I think. And
well, what if he went 42 with 250 wins?
He's probably not there with that number, because he doesn't have like the numbers that just blow your mind season to season. He had probably 3 or 4 dominant seasons. That's about it. I mean, look at it. He led the league in losses probably 3 or 4 times. I mean,
I'm getting dumber. Just the more you talk, I get dumber.
You're gonna put him in with 250 wins, then you're putting Jamie Moyer in. Jamie Moyer played till he was like 800 years old, and he got 200 something wins.
ERA.
Yeah, that's true. Moyer had a higher ERA.
Good, man. A 3.35 ERA. That almost gets you a Cy Young nowadays. You know what I mean? Like, you're in the conversation. I'll put it that way. That's not much worse than Garrett Cole or what. I mean, I don't even know what his was this year, but probably pretty similar to that. He did that for a career. He did that for like 24 years. Come on, man. He's a Hall of Famer with 250 wins. Wins above replacement, 95.9, DJ. They're saying 60 is the magic number. 60. He had 95.9.
Well, isn't that a little bit of that to longevity too, though? Just being honest, like if you pitch that long, it's got to be.
He won 23 games. He won 20. He won 21. He had obviously endless years in the 15, 16, 17 range. He's a Hall of Famer, man. Like I said, I'm just a guy who values somebody that can go out there and give me quality innings. He did that plenty of times. He's a Hall of Famer.
So you throw him in there, and it's kind of, his brother Joe had 221 wins, 204 losses, a 3.59 ERA. So he's right there too, man. I mean, Joe's right there.
I've never his stats. I need to go back and look at that. I guess the difference between those two. I just pulled him up here real quick. Joe Niekro did play 21 seasons to get those 215 wins. So there's a big difference there between him and Phil. But my goodness, man, I mean, to be able to get that many wins out of 2 different pitchers in the same family. And a cool thing that I read today, one of his best friends growing up, one of Phil Niekro's best friends growing up was John Havlicek. They went to the same high school at the same time. How crazy is that?
That's awesome.
Unreal, man. Phil Niekro is an amazing person to me. Just to be honest with you, an amazing pitcher to me, and I'm glad he's in. And sorry to hear of him passing. Yeah,
I agree. Rest in peace, Phil. Man, that's tough to hear. 7 Hall of Famers this year, David. That's just so sad to see. And he had a long battle with cancer and passed away at the age of 81. So definitely rest in peace, Phil Niekro, for sure. So David, I'm going to go through a few guys here that also passed away this week. And Charlie Pride died at the age of 86. He was a 6'1", 180-pound righty pitcher. He played for the Reds in the Pioneer League in 1960 and also played in 1955 for the Reds Arizona Mexican League. He never made it to professional level, for the Reds. He went 0-0 in his career with a 3.86 ERA and 7 total innings pitched. However, the big thing that makes Charlie Pride famous, David, I don't know if you know this or not, is do you know who Charlie Pride is?
Mm-hmm.
You do. I figured you did, living in West Virginia.
I'm surprised you know who Charlie Pride is,
I
DJ.
had no idea who he was till I started reading up on him. I'm like, this guy has no major league stats. Like, why is he on the death list? And it just so happens that he's a country singer, which is why I have no clue who he is.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I had no clue he was a baseball player. Zero. I only knew him as a country singer, so that's pretty crazy.
And if I would have known he was a country singer before I did this study, I would have gave him to you right away, man.
I want to hear you sing one of his songs, DJ.
Well, it's kind of cool though, because he did become a Hall of Famer in country music apparently. So he's the first black member to make the Hall of Fame as well. So that's pretty cool. I'm telling you, man, that was kind of funny to see that. And he's a lot like you, David. He's gonna sing to you while striking you out. So Charlie Pride, man, 86. What a great life. It seemed like when you can be both a music star and a baseball star, how cool is that, man? I mean, that's what a lot of us as men would dream of being, is famous in both of those areas. So really cool to see that. Rest in peace to Charlie. Derek Aquin, okay, 6'7", 235-pound righty, born in Canada in 1970. So he died at 50 from brain cancer. Mm-hmm. Played one season in 1996 with the Montreal Expos. I honestly did not remember this guy. I never seen him pitch or anything. I didn't really know of him either, to be honest with you. Career stat, 0 wins, 1 loss, a 3.38 ERA, 2.2 innings pitched. But, man, he made the show. We talk about this all the time. It seems like a lot of these guys who passed this year had a little bit of a cup of coffee, man. And I bet he can tell you every pitch he threw in those 2 2/3 innings that he threw in the majors in those 2 games he pitched. Really cool that he made the show. He was married and had 1 son whose name was Dawson. And who could you think that was named after, David?
Andre.
You got it. He named his son after Andre Dawson, who was a legend with the Expos. So very cool to see that. And right before he passed away, David, this is also cool. Derek made the Quebec Baseball Hall of Fame in November. So it's great that he got to enjoy that right before he passed away. So really cool to hear that. And rest in peace, Derek. That's far too young to be passing away, obviously. So that one's more of a tragedy than anything, really. So definitely prayers to his family and for all that. That's really crazy that he passed away so young. Roger Moret, 6'4", 170, born in 1949 in Puerto Rico, died at the age of 71. He had a 47-27 career record with a 3.66 ERA for the Boston Red Sox. 6 seasons he pitched with them, 2 for the Rangers and 1 for the Braves. In 1975, he was on the Red Sox team that played against the Big Red Machine in the famous World Series where Carlton Fisk waved the ball fair there. He was in the Red Sox rotation at the top of that rotation. In 1975, while he was on that team, he led the majors with an .824 win percentage and a 14-3 record. Then for some reason, he ended his career at the Red Sox, and then went on to the Braves after that season. He also was awesome in 1973 for the Red Sox, where he had a 13-2 record. So 2 dominant years in his career on the major league level. And he was one of the aces of the 75 team, like I said. So the Red Sox lost another one of their players. They said that he was on the all-decade team, I believe, for the 1970s for the Red Sox. He was on their all-decade team as a pitcher. So really cool. And I didn't know too much about him as well. So rest in peace, Roger. And so those are the guys that I had. David, did you have a few to talk to us about?
Yeah, so I got 3. Like you, these are players, to be honest with you, I've never heard of. There's a couple cool stories in here. The first player that I had was Billy Harris, 6 foot 175. He was a second baseman and third baseman. Only played 2 seasons. First season was with Cleveland. not a great hitter, to be honest with you. He hit 218, no home runs for his career. The second season was with Kansas City, but he only played in just a very few games. He died at the age of 77. To be honest with you, I searched the internet. I couldn't really find a whole lot of information on him otherwise as far as his family and everything. But like you said, he played in 2 seasons in the majors, which is, a lot of people wish they could say. He's from North Carolina, died in his hometown. That was Billy Harris. The second player you gave me was Billy DeMars. And he was born in Brooklyn in 1925, DJ. He died at the age of 95.
Wow.
I always love stories like this. Obviously I'm a Yankee fan. I love New York. I just think it's cool, especially the way that it used to be, all the immigrants and things. So he was drafted by the Dodgers, the Brooklyn Dodgers, which had to have been a dream come true for him. He was then selected in the Rule 5 draft by the A's. And, I just tried to put myself in his shoes. I bet that was heartbreaking. He didn't have a long career. He played in 3 seasons for the A's and then for St. Louis. That was from 48 to 51, a 237 career hitter. He played in 61 games in the 48 season. Had 14 RBIs. His claim to fame in baseball, he became a minor league manager and then later became a major league coach, most famously with the Phillies. He was a part of the World Series championship team in 1980, several division winners. Also coached with the Expos and Reds. And here's the highest compliment that probably anybody could ever get. Pete Rose said he was the greatest hitting coach he ever worked with.
Wow.
So that's amazing.
Wow.
Absolutely amazing. He retired in 1987, but continued to be an instructor for the Phillies and spring training and stuff through the 90s. But great career, especially as a coach, also as a player. Again, that was Billy DeMars. And then lastly, Phil Linz. He played from 62 to 68 for the Yankees, Mets, and Phillies. He was born in Baltimore. Career 235 hitter. He only hit 11 home runs. His best year came in 64. He kind of became a super utility player. Played for the Yankees in 64, a team that went to the World Series and played against the Cardinals. And Bobby Richardson was out that series. He started all 7 games. And he homered in the second game. And then in the bottom of the 9th against our boy Bob Gibson, he homered. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. So, DJ, I've got to read you a really funny story about Phil Linz. Do you know this story where I'm going with this?
Nope.
Okay, give me just a second. I had this pulled up a minute ago and I lost it. There is an incident involving the Yankees called the harmonica incident. And I'm just going to read it to you straight from Wikipedia. It's hilarious. Give me just a second. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good, man. No doubt.
All right, here we go. This is just a classic baseball story. This sounds like something that could have happened at Tennessee Temple in the van. So here it is. The harmonica incident took place on the New York Yankees team bus August the 20th, 1964, en route to O'Hare International Airport. Infielder Phil Linz, slightly resentful for not being played during the 4-game sweep by the White Sox. That was believed to, at the time, to have seriously set back the Yankees' chances at the American League pennant, began playing a harmonica in the back of the bus. Manager Yogi Berra, feeling that Linz's behavior was inappropriate given the team's recent poor performance, angrily called on him to stop, whereupon Linz threw the harmonica and loudly complained about being singled out despite having not been at fault for the losses. Long story short, that harmonica hit, I believe it was Chris Chambliss. It ended up costing Yogi Berra his job because management had decided that he had lost control of the team. And so, DJ, it brings me back to an incident on the Tennessee Temple van when one of our players punched another player. So I don't want to bring up who those players were, but it just reminded me of that famous incident. DJ, did you want to expound on that at all?
No, but I think we might get there in a future podcast when we have them on.
I'm looking forward to that one.
That'll be a fun conversation, no doubt, because I hold no grudges, but it'll definitely be fun to talk about that.
Last thing on Phil Linz, he was traded in 1965 for Ruben Amaro, who obviously became the GM Phillies, I believe, there at one point. But short career, obviously eventful. Probably not a fan of Yogi Berra. Pretty interesting stuff.
And David, here's the thing, man. If I throw a harmonica at any single one of the guys that are teammates with him, the last guy on that bus I want to hit is Chambliss. That guy would rip your head off. He was a monster. So
Yep. To be honest with you, there's conflicting stories on that. I read to you the Wikipedia version. The other version that I read says that Yogi Berra took the harmonica from Lenz and threw it. So what actually happened there, I don't know. But there's definitely some conflicting stories there.
That is awesome, man. Great story, man. That's a lot of fun. So I wanted to share real quickly here. I got a new piece of memorabilia this week, David. This is the scorecard from let me get it over there, from our play-by-play radio announcer Pat Hughes. This is the Game 7 scorecard from the Indians and Cubs World Series Game 7. This is really cool. I'm going to have to get this thing framed. It's actually signed by Pat Hughes too. And he actually sent me like a little note here too that says, thank you for ordering one. Baseballvoices.com. If you go on there, Cubs fans, you can get a copy of that. I'm telling you, you want it. It's really cool to have that. It's got like all the notes that an announcer goes through throughout the game, and it's got his little position things there. It's really cool to check out to see how these guys do that kind of thing. So obviously Game 7 was amazing. So that's the newest one to my edition. I think it's really cool. I already had Pat Hughes' autograph, but now I've got it 3 times. So that's pretty cool as well. So just wanted to share that with Cubs fans. That is baseballvoices.com. Get on there and check that out for sure if you wanted to copy that as well. All right, David. So I'm going to jump in here with speaking of the Cubs, I'm going to go right into the Cubs update here now. And after this, I'll let you jump in on the Yankees. So I guess the biggest things that came out of Cubs camp this week was there was a lot of rumors going around about Wilson Contreras and trading Wilson Contreras. We already got rid of Caratini, obviously. I wasn't really sure what they were going to do if they were trading Contreras now, because they really wouldn't have any catchers with the Maya kind of on the horizon a little bit still. So Jed Hoyer has denounced these trade rumors, said they're false. They still got control of Contreras for the 2021 and 2022 season. So, and Amaya supposedly is not starting the season this year with the Cubs. He may come along later on in the year, but I probably think he definitely will be along in 2022 for sure. So it looks like Wilson will be on the team for at least the next 2 years, according to Jed. And then if they decide to keep him or if they decide to hand the job over to Miguel is yet to be seen. But I don't know, man. I really don't know what to believe, David, on this one because, Jed Hoyer also said that the Yu Darvish thing was not a salary dump, which he's getting trashed for in the Chicago media and all the Chicago fans right now, because that's just a blatant lie. Because you dump salary basically to get prospects back, which it makes sense from certain standpoints, but it doesn't from others. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that trade, because of the fact that I don't know what his next moves are going to be. It's kind of why I can't totally judge him on this one yet. It's still kind of hard to take right now when nothing's been happening. So as far as him saying Wilson's not going to be traded, then he went around, to say if some trade makes sense to us, we're going to make it. So you just don't know. You don't know. If someone blows the socks off to him for, Wilson Contreras, I'm pretty sure he's going to trade him. So, if they offered enough and he liked it, he probably would get rid of him. So he probably just was saying, the thing to protect him and try to, not distract Wilson. But
DJ, I would be really disappointed as a Cubs fan in the answer, to be honest with you. You could frame that a lot of other ways. You could say, hey, we're just retooling. We wanted to invest in our farm system. And, that if I was a GM and made that trade, I'd be trying to sell Zach Davies. Hey, he's no slouch. He's not that far behind Yu Darvish. I mean, over his career, obviously Yu Darvish has better stuff, but Zach Davies is a good pitcher. That's a lot easier to sell than just lying to me, because that's what he just did. Yep. And I just don't understand that, DJ. I don't really understand what the Cubs are doing. I've heard everything on MLB from they're going to have a complete teardown and a reboot, which is they're saying that's why Epstein took off. He didn't want to be a part of that, and I can understand that. But just trading, if this ends here, I don't get it, DJ. I do not get this move at all if it ends right here, because you didn't make yourself. You can't make the case that you really made yourself any better. And like I said, if you're going to go that far, you probably should go ahead and just tear down and retool. So I just don't get it.
And so the other thing too is when the trade was made, I didn't have an exact chance to look at Davies' contract when we got on the show last week, but he's only got 2021 under contract right now, so he could be a guy that we're either trading at the deadline or we're just having for a year and he's gone. We just don't know if we're gonna even sign him or not. So it's tough, man. It really was. It was tough when I saw that Davies only had 1 year. That really kind of was like, oh, if we would have had 3 more years of Davies, I would have been a little bit more okay with it. Because he's a good pitcher, like you said, and he's no slouches for sure. But I'm gonna hold off on my complete disappointment with the trade until I see what's next, because this team's not done. They're not. They've got a lot of spots to fill here, especially in that pitching staff and in the outfield. So more things are to come, and I guess we'll judge it once we see what the full team is come April 1st. So the Cubs have also signed Adam Morgan this week to a minor league deal. He had a flexor tendon repair surgery in October, so it's unclear whether he'll pitch at all in 2021. He was part of that horrid Phillies bullpen this past year, David, that posted a 5.54 ERA in 17 appearances. So he's a lefty specialist, no doubt. This is a minor move for the future. If he can come back and be a part of the 2022 season, kind of stash him away. Hope he gets healthy and can find it a little bit. He's got a career 4.84 ERA, so nothing spectacular. 6 straight seasons of MLB service for the Phillies. He has a 13-27 career record, and he was a starter for the first 2 seasons with the Phillies, and then ever since has been a bullpen guy. So Adam Morgan joins the team. Just a little minor move there, a stash kind of thing, and we'll see what we can get out of him hopefully in the future. But just a little minor move there. And to sign him, they also released Colin Rea. He wanted to go to Japan and play, so they released him to go to Japan. He was possibly our 5th starter this year. He was in the running for it. He got 2 starts this last season. He went 1-1. I believe he won a Tigers game that he pitched in, and so he is no longer in the mix for the 5th starter. And that's where I'm saying, David, is we don't really have one right now, unless you're going with Braylon Marquez, the prospect, and you don't have a 5th starter. You look at this roster, it's not there. And that's just saying Ed Zolay is going to get the 4th spot. And if they're going to give him his shot like they did Mills last year, I'm okay with that. But they don't have a 5th guy right now, so they're either going to get 1 or 2 more starting pitchers. If that being said, we'll see what they do with this Yu Darvish money that they got and how this all pans out for the future here. So I guess the last thing that happened for the Cubs this week was the John Sciambi going to the play-by-play voice of the Chicago Cubs on the Marquee Network, David. And this is an awesome move. We were actually on the phone with each other yesterday when this news broke. I was listening to it on the radio, and I almost was certain that was the guy I was thinking of, and then you locked it up for me, knowing that it was definitely him. What a voice, man! He's definitely a hilarious commentator. He's a lot of fun. He's got a great baseball voice. I'm ecstatic about it. I think he's way better than Len Casper. This is great, Cubs fans. You're gonna love this. And a part of the product, man, is when you're watching a game, David. We talked a lot about this yesterday. You want somebody that you like and has a good voice and is a good baseball mind calling your team's games. And we got one, man. We landed a good one. And I hope he's here to stay for a long time, like Len Casper was, man, because this is a good move. And what do you think about Sciambi?
Man, I think he's ESPN's best guys. I really do believe that. I would rather hear him call a game than almost anybody that ESPN throws out there. I told you my feelings on A-Rod, on Rick Sutcliffe, some of those other guys. I'm a big Sciambi fan. So, man, if I'm a Cubs fan, I'm pumped up.
So, David, I wanted to play something real quick. This is a 50-second video I found, and this is hilarious, man. I'm going to give you the backstory on it real quick. and then I'm going to talk a little bit after this video. To all of our Braves teammates out there, I'm going to admit something that I've been holding on to for a long time here. But this is just a little backstory as we're playing this here. This is Chipper Jones and David Ross up in the booth with Sciambi on probably a Sunday night. And Chipper Jones was talking to Sciambi about how, Sciambi thought that he was taking way too many first pitch strikes down the middle, and that he should, stop swinging at the first pitch strike all the time. He should let some of them go. So this is a pretty hilarious story here, real quick, about Sciambi and Chipper Jones.
Oh, no, you were in the box. It was pregame, and I was asking you. You were in a stretch. You weren't swinging it great. You were swinging it the first pitch a lot, and so Dorky Boo, me in my hitting video said, "Hey, how come you're swinging the first pitch so much? You don't get a lot of first pitch strikes." Was my point. I said, "You don't. So why are you doing it if they're not throwing you a lot of strikes?" And your point was because it's probably the only time I'm going to get a fastball. So here's what happened. Tim Stauffer, it splits the plate at 91. Now watch the hitter. Watch the head shake. Watch the head shake. What are we talking That's about? Why you're up there and I'm down here. Now beautiful. That's funny.
That's awesome.
So, man, that was absolutely awesome there to see that. I didn't know Chipper Jones did that. Looked up to the booth. Like, I took that fastball for you, punk. But that's your guy, Cubs fans. He's an awesome voice. You got a little taste of him there. And Braves fans, I'm going to admit something to you. I honestly secretly have always loved Chipper Jones. I know that's really hard to believe because I always bash him to you guys. But man, that guy was unbelievable. What a great player. Intensity is, I think, the key word with him. That man was just intense throughout the game. What a great player. I hate to admit this. I hope Casey Caldwell, Stephen Shelton, Jason Stiltner, Brad Raby, Jason Morgan. And I hope none of you guys are listening, Lee Salyers, because I'm afraid to admit that. But Chipper Jones was truly an amazing player, man, and I definitely thought he was awesome. So, David, I will turn it over to you. What's happening on the Yankee front?
Not much to report today. We're still in stare down mode between DJ LeMahieu and also Masahiro Tanaka. And Tanaka's made it well known that it's Japan or Yankees or bust.
Wow.
I thought that was really interesting. I really thought a lot of teams would be interested in after Tanaka. He is a pretty solid number 3 or 4 starter at this point in his career. He's going to give you 6 or 7 innings, most starts. He's going to go through moments of being unhittable and moments to where he can't get through the 4th or 5th inning. And so in that way, he's frustrating. But the LeMahieu thing, still exactly where we were. The new thing going around about LeMahieu is that the Dodgers are indeed interested. And I'm going to be honest, DJ, I'm not sure that I totally believe it. I wonder if I'm not sure who LeMahieu's agent is, but you know how these guys do, man. They start dropping names and saying, well, this team over here is interested. So we'll see. I've told you before, I'm okay if DJ leaves. I'm not going to love it. But if it's true that the Yankees have lost all that money and want to get under the cap, I don't know how the Yankees can get better signing LeMahieu. I think they're going to have to basically run the same team out there last year as they did this year if they sign LeMahieu, maybe without Tanaka. And so it's hard to believe that they're going to get better that way. The only other thing that happened this week, the Yankees signed a minor league deal with Socrates Brito. I don't know if you remember him, DJ. Had a really good start to his career back in 2015 with the D-backs. Kind of bounced around since, but career close to 300 hitter in the minor leagues. He's left-handed, which is big with the Yankees right now. They have almost nobody on their 25-man roster that's left-handed, just 1 or 2 players, assuming Brett Gardner's gone. So they've been looking for a left-handed bat. So anytime the Yankees sign these minor league guys, they seem like they find their way onto the roster somehow at some point in the season. So I would keep an eye on Socrates Brito. But that's pretty much it for the Yankees right now. I think until this LeMahieu chip falls, everything's on hold.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I too, like you said, I saw the DJ LeMahieu to Dodgers rumors too. And I only believe them somewhat because Gavin Lux has kind of been up and down as a player so far coming up, and Chris Taylor's like a super utility guy. So it makes sense. I don't think they're going to keep Kike Hernandez. He's a free agent. So their second base job, if any, is open, and they can move Taylor around to different spots, and he can be that guy that he is, a super flex guy. And then you see, what Lux can do coming up more. But yeah, I mean, if you sign DJ LeMahieu, Gavin Lux is probably not starting anymore, and I'm okay with that because, wow, what a hitter he is! Obviously, one of the best in the game. So, like you said, I'm not sure how true that is, but we'll see. I guess coming up soon.
If it is true, I don't know how you beat the Dodgers, even after all the Padres have done, and we're going to talk about that. But how do you beat a lineup with Mookie Betts and DJ LeMahieu and Cody Bellinger and so on and so forth? Of course, if they sign LeMahieu, it probably means the end of Justin Turner, or it could mean the end of Justin Turner. So that's something to consider. But wow, I mean, that would be an amazing lineup. It'd be hard to overcome for sure.
Yeah, it's a good point, man. You make that. They kind of feel maybe a little bit of pressure to do something now that the Padres have been doing all this stuff to try to catch them, and it would be a big splash, no doubt. So speaking of the Padres, you did a good job of transitioning there for us, David. So Ha-Seong Kim to the Padres. This is an interesting move, David, and we talked about this a little bit before with Jurickson Profar and Jake Cronenworth playing second base mainly for the Padres last year. He's 25 years old, 4 years, $25 million contract he signed. So he plays shortstop in Korea. He's obviously not playing shortstop for the Padres with the future, the man, Fernando Tatis Jr., who is probably, David, going to sign a massive deal here very soon. And he's going to be a Padre for a very long time if A.J. Preller has his next move, if he gets that. So Kim was a 306, 397, 523 line last season for his Korea team, 30 home runs and more walks than strikeouts. So he can hit, man. He can hit for average and power. He apparently also has a great arm. I think he's going to be their starting second baseman for everything I'm reading. So, David, this kind of, if the DH doesn't come in the National League, which I'm not too positive it will, the one thing I'm not sure of here is what do you do with Cronenworth? If you move him to the outfield, which is the only spot he can go, you've really already got Tommy Pham, Trent Grisham, and Will Myers out there. So I don't know. Maybe it just is. It adds depth to their roster for sure. But it'll be interesting to see what the Padres do as far as their starting lineup goes every day with that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a little signing for the Padres. I mean, they don't have much money in it, to be honest with you. But having said that, I want to tamp down the expectations a little bit for you Padres fans out there.
Really?
Yep. I looked up Korean players today, DJ, because I was just curious as to what the track record of Korean players are. And DJ, it's not very good. So, you got Sin-Soo Choo. He's obviously been a stud. You've got Ryu, who's a great pitcher. Chan-Ho Park was a good pitcher for just a minute.
Yeah.
And then you got guys like Ji-Man Choi, and it just starts going downhill real fast after that. There's only been 22 total Korean players that actually made the major leagues at this point. That seems low, but that's the number that I was able to pull up today. And so while it's exciting, that he's been a good player, I would say it's not likely that he's going to be Sin-Soo Choo. And it's not likely that he's going to be one of those top guys. He's probably going to be somewhere in the middle. And so I think it's a good signing by the Padres. You're not really giving up much. It puts Cronenworth either in the outfield or in that super utility role. So I don't hate it. I did hear some moron say this past week that maybe Tatis would move to the outfield.
Oh, stop it.
Pull that guy's baseball announcer card or whatever. Yeah, I totally heard that this week on MLB radio or somewhere. That is crazy to me. That's crazy.
That's nuts.
Hey, it's a great move. This is what teams that want to win do. Yep. They jump in there and they pay the money for these guys that may not pan out. The dude might hit 30 home runs and they may look like geniuses. He may fall on his face and they're not really out anything if he does. So I think it's a good move personally.
So speaking of good moves, we didn't really get a chance to talk about this one last week because we were talking about the Yu Darvish one and majority of the time there. So Blake Snell has joined the Padres rotation for Luis Patino, Cole Wilcox, Francisco Mejia, and Blake Hunt. The 2018 Cy Young Award winner was 21-5 with a 1.89 ERA that year. Is a 42-30 career pitcher with a 3.24 ERA. So David, Blake Snell traded to the Padres. So here's their rotation for this coming season. Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Dinelson Lamet, Chris Paddock, and Mackenzie Gore if you bring him up. And your 2022 Padres is even better with Darvish, Snell, Lamet, Mike Clevenger comes back, and you got Mackenzie Gore. When they get to that 5-man rotation in 2022, David, name me a better 5-man rotation if Gore ends up panning out like he's supposed to. I don't know if you can.
No, it was a great move. I'll be in the minority on this one. I think it was a good move for both teams. And here's why I'm going to say that. The Rays got a top 25 in all of baseball prospect.
Yep.
They say his floor is number 3 starter, his floor. Snell is not going to give you – he might give you 100 innings this year just based upon innings limits. They're not going to be able to ramp him back up to 150, 200 innings. So I think this was a shrewd move by the Rays. They got Mejia, the catcher they got. He was once a top 50 prospect in all of baseball. I wouldn't give up on him yet. Supposedly a good bat, not great on defense. And so this is a very Rays trade. Now, having said that, the Padres came out like bandits too, man. They're going for it, and I love it. I'm not a huge Snell fan myself for obvious reasons, but I love the fact that the Padres are in it, man. They're in it to win it, and I respect that. And, again, I respect the Rays side of the deal as well.
I really do too. And to be honest with you, David, they talked a lot about which team, the Cubs or the Rays, got the better prospects back and the better package back for the Aces. And I'll just be honest with you, I would rather have the Rays guys than what the Cubs got back. I really would, because the 2 guys you mentioned there, man, if I'm getting a stud pitcher like that who's a 3 at worst, he's a 3. Give me that all day with that young arm, and you got a good catcher there too. So the Padres, man, they're like you said, they're going for it. This is unbelievable moves they made. It's hard to keep track of them because they're not done, man. They're trying to lock Tatis up. They're trying to do a couple more things here. Maybe not as huge, but maybe a few more minor moves that they're going to make. Wow, they are on it to win it, man. That's for sure. And a lot of experts are picking them to take over the Dodgers. Not quite sure they're there quite yet, but they're definitely on the heels, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so this leads me to the next point here, David. With this, you just mentioned Francisco going back to the Rays, so I wonder what your thoughts are with the Rays already just re-signing Mike Zunino, which is what they did this past week. So they re-signed Zunino, and now they got Mejia in the backup role. So do you think Francisco could push for the starting job? Do you think Zunino's job to lose right now? What do you think the Rays are going to do with their catching situation?
I have to admit, I don't signing. They're paying $2 million, which is a lot of money, but not in the baseball world. But for a guy that hasn't hit above 200 in the last 2 years, so I think he had 165 2 years ago and 147 last year, something along those lines.
Brutal.
For a team that's broke, I don't get that signing at all. You can get guys off the waiver wire. Now, having said that, Zunino obviously is a great leader. He's good on defense. So I have to believe in my heart that Mejia is going to have that job, and Zunino is going to be the backup, just kind of like he was last year, where he gets ABs in certain situations. Maybe he catches a certain pitcher, but I think it's got to be Mejia's job to lose. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so too. Zunino just cannot hit. And, he's one of those guys that'll hit some bombs for you, no doubt. But his batting average and his hitting has been just poor, to say the least. And if Mejia can improve his defense, and he's going to improve his value a bunch, and he's going to push Zunino big time for that starting job. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Rays do there. whether or not they flex the two or whether or not they stick with one and try to get more out of Francisco here a little bit, in the later years. But it'll definitely be interesting to see what they do with them. And it's kind of weird, David, because this is a team that's in the World Series and they just gave away their ace, man. So it's crazy to see what teams do, and it's a very interesting move for sure. But they did get a stud pitcher back, so I think that they're going to be okay with Glasnow and the other guys still in the rotation, and now you got him in there too. So it's not like they dried themselves up too bad here. So they're definitely making Rays moves, like you said, and they're just kind of trying to go with the younger guys who are not going to cost them a lot of money. So
DJ, there's so much value out there right now on the pitching market. Watch out for the Rays to make a sneaky move somewhere. Yeah. Don't be surprised when a guy like Corey Kluber, the Rays aren't even mentioned, and he ends up over there, or James Paxton. And, if Patino were to pan out and Paxton were to pan out, or Kluber or whoever on a one-year deal, then the Rays are right back where they were. Right. Man, I just think it was shrewd on their part. I mean, it's going to bite them somewhere. Somewhere they're going to make the wrong trade, and maybe this was it. But I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all.
Yeah, it's totally a Rays move. It makes sense from their standpoint, and they're just going to keep plugging along, like you said. They lost one of their best pitchers, but I don't think it was the dumbest move in the world. That's for sure. So, no. All right, so we're going to transition to the Mets a little bit here, David. So they got a new GM and Jared Porter, who got a 4-year deal. Dude, get moving. What is going on with the Mets, David? I am completely disappointed in their offseason so far. So obviously I like the James McCann signing. He's a big step up from Wilson Ramos. There's no doubt about that. But Stephen Cohen is one of the richest men in all of baseball. He's a massive billionaire. I said with a B, billionaire. And he's owning the Mets. He's supposedly changing what they're doing. It's January, man. You signed James McCann. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. And are they going to ease into this thing, try to build this up slowly? You're a New York team, man. That's not what New York teams do. If you've got the money, let's go. Get moving. What are you waiting for? Seriously. You've got some corner pieces on this team that you can build off of. You've got stud pitching. You've got players that need a few more to make this team a serious contender, David. What in the world are they waiting for? What do you think?
I think they're just waiting on the market. I can't blame them to some extent. I heard that there was an offer on the table for George Springer from a team in $130 million range. And, $130 million is a chump change. And I would guarantee you that's the Mets, because that's the one guy that I think they really need is George Springer. And really all they need after that, in my opinion, is a pitcher. I mean, I'm sure it'd be nice to see DJ LeMahieu at second base or something like that. But they can pretty much roll with the team that they got. If they were to get Springer and one more pitcher, they got McCann. So I don't blame them. I'm a Yankee fan. They've made all kinds of stupid deals. I think of Jacoby Ellsbury when they were bidding against themselves, and end up signing him for almost $200 million. And there was nobody else around it, nobody even close to it. And so I would be a little gun shy too. You got an offer on the table to Springer, say, hey, if you get a better one, come back to me, let me know. So the Mets are going to be interesting, man. I think the GM that they got was a good pick. He's been around, been part of 2 World Series teams, one with the Cubs and with the Red Sox. He's been a scouting director. So I think the Mets are kind of primed to make a big move here.
We will definitely see. I just think that they better do something. If they miss out on some of these guys, it's going to be their own fault because they're not pushing it. The White Sox did get a little worse by losing James McCann, that's for sure. So I was happy to see that. He's pretty good, man. He had his 162 game average is 18 homers, 68 ribbies, and a 250 batting average. So that's good for a catcher. That's really good hitting wise. He only played 31 games the past season for the White Sox. Had a really good year in 2019 with the White Sox, 18 bombs, 60 ribbies, 273. Signed a 4-year, $40 million deal with the Mets. What do you think about McCann going to the Mets, David?
I think it's a shrewd move, man. I think it's a real shrewd move. Wins above replacement. He's almost exactly what JT Realmuto was last year. And they're saying Realmuto is going to get well over $100 million. I think this was a very smart move by the Mets. I don't blame them at all for jumping right on that. It's going to make them a lot better. They've been getting zero from the catcher position the last couple of years. They've just kind of been plugging guys in. So I love the McCann move.
I do too, man. But let's go, Mets. Let's go. You guys are going to be one of the highest payrolls in baseball here. The Nationals are making moves. The Braves are solid. You got a tough division to compete in. The Phillies are coming too. This is not going to be an easy division in 2021, so they got to do something, and they got to get moving here, no doubt. So, David, the Phillies got Jose Alvarado from the Rays as well here, and another move that was sneaky by the Rays, who are kind of throwing guys around here a little bit. So we talked about Sam Fold having his hands full with that bullpen. There's no doubt to be getting a new job with the GM. And his first move, like we kind of predicted, was a bullpen move. He went out and got Alvarado, who has nasty stuff, man. He really does. Like, I saw him the other day. There was a pitch he threw. I think it was to Charlie Blackmon. It was 99, and that ball moved probably 3 feet from looking like a fastball, just slid right into Blackmon. He had no chance. His stuff is nasty, man. If he's on, he's one of the top 10 lefty relievers in the game. If he's on, now if he's not even close. So it's kind of which one are you going to get with him? He can dominate, but he can also look pretty bad at times. So we'll see what happens with him. He had 3.46 career ERA with 15 saves. He's only 25 years old. He's pitched 4 seasons for Tampa Bay. So also in that move, Garrett Clevenger went to the Dodgers. He's a 26-year-old who made his debut with the Phillies this past year. Just a prospect, not sure what he's going to do. Don't really know too much about him at all. And the Rays got Dylan Paulson out of the deal, who's a pretty good first base prospect for the Dodgers. So this is another one of those sneaky Rays moves, man, where they get that guy who may be a stud first baseman in the future, and they hide him away for one of their bullpen guys. So I don't blame them. What do you think of this trade, David?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I guess that's why the trade got made. A lot of fronts. I'm not really sure what the Dodgers' motive in being involved in that was, but Alvarado, man, the Phillies need help. Like you said, he's been a great pitcher in the past. I don't know much about the first baseman, but I always trust the Rays when they make these trades. That guy's probably going to be a producer for them. So I think it's a win for everybody.
Yeah, that was one of those trades where you kind of see, like you said, the Dodgers, I'm not too sure about what they're getting there. I don't know hardly anything about the guy they got, but I'm trusting that they know what they're doing, obviously, because they just started that kind of team. So, and another somewhat minor move, but maybe a pretty good move for the Giants. They got John Brebbia, who was with the Cardinals for the past few years. 3.14 ERA and 3 MLB seasons with the Cardinals, 198 Ks and 175 innings pitched. He's a nasty righty. The market continues to be very nice to the free agents for relief pitching right now, David, and trades. It's kind of going that way right now with relief pitchers. And the Giants make this move, which is good, but the Giants remain in the cellar, in my opinion, in the NL West. And unless they start making some bigger moves in this, they're not going to be too much to be reckoned with in 2021. But nonetheless, a nice addition by getting Brebbia. What do you think about that move?
You know, I couldn't figure the Cardinals. They could have had Brebbia back for $800,000. I mean, that's $200,000 above the league minimum.
Yep.
Makes me wonder what the Cardinals know. There's just something missing in that, and so don't be surprised if Brebbia doesn't pitch or starts off the season on the DL. I don't know. I just can't figure that one out. And the Giants team, didn't they almost make the playoffs this past year?
They did. They were very close. And we fought that the whole time, saying we knew that they were going to make the playoffs. I was not wanting them to make it. We trashed them.
We trashed them. I said I would rather have the Pirates roster, I think. Don't go back. Nobody go back and watch that episode. Because of all the teams, it was just so hard to come up with anything that we liked about the Giants. And yet they almost ended up in the play. We hated Gabe Kapler. I mean, there was just so much to hate about that team. And somehow they almost made it in the playoffs. So pretty crazy.
Unbelievable, no doubt, to say the least. So transitioning now, Hunter Renfroe to the Red Sox. He goes to your boys, David.
I hate this move. I hate it.
We're going to fight a little bit on this. We're going to fight.
I know you love Hunter Renfroe, so just go ahead and tell me why the man crush on Hunter Renfroe. The guy never hits. Hits like 220, hits a few bombs. He's a statue out in right field. I mean,
I gotta laugh, man. I saw a meme that getting Hunter Renfroe is like getting the $600 stimulus package. getting a guy like Mike Trout is getting the $2,000 stimulus package. So this is definitely a poor man's Mike Trout here, no doubt, for sure.
I don't know what the Red Sox are doing, DJ. I just can't figure this out for the life of me. And this was going to come up down the line, so it might as well just come up now. Red Sox, what are you doing? Well, seriously, what are you doing? So I'm assuming now Benintendi's going to go to center field.
Yeah.
And, man, the Red Sox still – I hate to admit this. They still got a good team.
They do.
They still have the injury bug bit them so bad last year. But if Eduardo Rodriguez comes back and Sale comes back and Tanner Houck I think that's how you say his name, is as good as he looked at the end of last year, and they just add like one pitcher, maybe Shugano. I mean, he doesn't even have to be like a real stud pitcher if Sale comes back. And then they get some bullpen help. I mean, they can really hit. I have no idea what the Red Sox are doing, DJ. I mean, do you agree? I mean, am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy. I have no clue what they're doing either. They're a mess, a giant mess. But they're that close, man. Like you said, they're that close to turning this thing around. And Renfroe's penciled in right now as a right fielder, so they just made a sneaky move to get a starter in here. And so, I 8 home runs and 22 ribbies in limited time this season. He didn't play very much of the Rays. You know, Kevin Cash kind of used a rotation of about 12, 13 players all year long. He didn't get too much time. He batted 156 this season, so his batting average was brutal, to say the least. You know what? But I think he's got it, man. I really do. He can hit you a lot of bombs. He can hit you 20, 30 bombs in a regular season. You know, he can produce some ribbies, which is the big thing. He can get you a lot of RBI, maybe 70 ribbies if you're lucky. And the loss of Jackie Bradley Jr. makes this shift kind of Verdugo to center, like you said. Not Verdugo, Benintendi to center. Verdugo to – no, you know what? Verdugo is going to play center. Benintendi to left. So that's what I read. And then Hunter Renfroe in right. So Verdugo is the guy going to roam around in center field with the loss of Jackie Bradley, who maybe, David, Jackie Bradley might be running around Wrigley Field in center field. That's a rumor going around right now. So we'll see. We'll see how that pans out. But interesting for the Red Sox. I know you hate it, but I kind of like it.
Yeah. We talk about windows all the time. You hear teams talking about their window. Man, you got Xander Bogaerts in his prime. You got Devers at third base in his prime. Man, I kind of feel like the Red Sox are in a window, and that window's closing. And, man, a championship move, and like I said, maybe they'll prove me wrong, is not making Hunter Renfroe your starting right fielder. It's just not. He might be a good fourth or fifth outfielder, but he's not a starter, man. He's not. So I'm hopping all over you. Heim Bloom, you were hopping on the Mets. Come on, Red Sox. You're in a big market. You're at one of the best stadiums. Come on, man. Jump in there. Sign some guys. Don't hit me with Hunter Renfroe. Good Lord.
So Justin Smoke with his 5 homers and 15 ribbies in 36 games this year and a 176 batting average. An all-star not too long ago in 2017, David. He hasn't found it for the last couple of years. Eric Thames, if he's not on steroids, then I'd be completely shocked. That guy is a massive monster. Very scary. I would not want to hit him in the head with a harmonica, that's for sure. 3 home runs, 12 ribbies in 41 games this year. So both these guys struggled really bad in 2020. They're both on their way to Japan, man. And we talked to Preston a couple weeks ago about this whole Japan thing. If these guys don't do well, their MLB careers are over. That's the thing, David. They might be getting the money this year, and I'm not too sure if they got 1-year deals over there or not.
They did.
They did. Okay,
One of the
so
things
go for it.
that surprised me about Smoke got $8 million.
Oh, wow.
This is a no-brainer for Smoke.
Okay.
You know, he could go over there. He got the same money that Carlos Santana got, from the Royals. I think it's a genius move on his part. He struggled the last couple of years, really only one great season. Thames is a little bit of a head-scratcher to me. He had 3 great years in Milwaukee. He's only getting, I say, $1.2 million, I think is what he signed for. You would have thought some team, maybe even the Brewers again, would be willing to sign up for $1 million for Thames. That kind of surprised me, but I don't blame them at all. This Japan thing, I never realized how lucrative it could really be, and a possible track back into the major league. So I don't blame them at all.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can get their careers back on track, come back over, or like you said, if they struggle over there, man, it's probably over for those guys. So $8 million is hard to pass up. I don't care what part of the world you got to go to get that. So,
Right.
David, talk about your stupid White Sox for a second here. Yoleri Cespedes has been signed. I know nothing about him.
This is the win. Hey, I thought this was an awesome move. The number 1 player on the international market. So here's a team that's had one of the best farm systems. They're putting it out there, And what do they do to top it all off? They go get the number 1 player on the international market. He's 23 years old. He played on the World Baseball Classic team as an 18-year-old. I'm sorry, a 17-year-old with Cuba, DJ. This is the half-brother of Yoenis Cespedes, potential 5-tool guy. So sounds like he's a little rough around the edges. They said he put on 15 pounds of muscle, plus power tool. This is great, DJ. He's totally going to be their left fielder or right fielder probably next year, year after. Adam Eaton, he can move to the 4th outfielder. And so then you're going to have an entire team of young studs. This is great.
This is the move we were talking about, though, when Eaton signed, David. This is what we were talking about. This is another sneaky move they were going to make Eaton more valuable for this team, I believe, by doing this. I really do. Because now you're not relying on him every day if he struggles. You can plug him in here, and you can get some good stuff out of Adam Eaton for sure. Whether or not that's a full-time role or not, but Adam Eaton will add value to this team. I guarantee you that. And maybe now more that he's got some people pushing him a little bit to where he's not maybe relied on to play every single day. So, doggone it, man.
Great move. Hey, and the only thing that they have left to do, they need to fix that bullpen. They need to get Brad Hand or just bring Colomé back. I don't know why Colomé seems to be like not considered elite. I don't know. Can you talk about that, DJ? I mean, what is it that he pumps out the saves, great ERA? Why is Colomé not considered elite?
You know what, though, man? I can't figure this out because I see the White Sox play a lot, man. And when he comes in, it's pretty much game over. So I'm not real sure what's going on there. I really am not. I mean, I that's a great question because he's up there. He really is. And it'll be interesting what happens to him for sure. So the White Sox did also, like you were talking about with the bullpen, they, in a little bit of a minor move, they got Evan Marshall back too. So, they're just solidifying the bullpen a little bit by doing that. So, man, when I saw they got Cespedes, though, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
We need the White Sox today to make a Padres type move. We need to see somehow them make a trade for like a Roldis. I mean, just some good closer or another good starting pitcher or something. I would love to see Nelson Cruz there for 1 year. That would be the bomb. We just come on, White Sox, push all the chips in. You're there. You're on the edge of being elite. Make elite moves. Let's go.
That's enough of that talk. So Kohia Arihara to the Rangers in a completely Ranger move. He's 28 years old. This is a total move by them. 6'2", 210 righty out of Japan. 61-53 record, 3.65 ERA. You just never know what they're gonna do coming over from Japan. We talked about it, the Korean guys.
This almost DJ.
Yeah.
I mean, if you come out of there with the hype, it'll generally work. So if you're Tanaka or Matsuzaka or the guy that the Cubs, Yu Darvish, you come out with all that hype. But those second tier guys and third tier guys, they turn into guys like Kikuchi, Keigawa, Shun Yamaguchi, and you could go forever naming these guys. And so
Nice.
while they only have the Rangers only signed him, I think, for $2 million. I don't really blame him for throwing that at him for a couple years. But $10 says this doesn't work out at all. What do you think?
So here's my thing. I want to get into this one just a little bit here. He throws a 2-seam and a 4-seam. He sits in the low 90s with those. His best K pitch is a splitter, which is in the high 80s. He throws a low 80s slider as well against righties. He also throws a cutter, a changeup, and a curveball to lefties. So this reminds me of a Daisuke Matsuzaka who throws 46 different pitches. So this is what the Japanese specialist is all about. He can do this to you. He can buckle you with a ton of different pitches, like Yu Darvish can.
I love the Japanese pitchers, by the way. I'm serious.
Yeah, I do too.
The Japanese pitchers can pitch.
Yeah.
Most of these guys aren't blessed with a great arm. You know, the upper 80s and low 90s, and we saw Shigano dominate an all-star lineup in the World Baseball Classic. And so those guys, if they have great pitches, can still work. But like I said, the problem is there's just been more failure than there has been successes. So we'll see.
We will definitely see. So here's my point to you a little bit here. So what do you think about this, David? So now the Rangers obviously lost Lance Lynn, who was their ace. No, there's no doubt about that. Now Kyle Gibson moves into their ace role. Jordan Lyles is right behind him in the 2 spot. You put Arihara in the 3 spot. You just got Dane Dunning in your 4 spot from the White Sox. And you got Kobe Allard in the 5 spot. So basically what they did, David, is they got rid of Lance Lynn and added Dunning and Arihara to the rotation, So I think that's a good move for them. Dunning's up and coming, and if they get something out of this player too, obviously they're no Lance Lynn, but at least they got 2 pitchers to go into that rotation and just lost 1. So it's a sneaky good move on their part. Not too bad anyway.
Well, remember time last year we talked about the Rangers competing for the division. That's one of the ones we got dead wrong. But, maybe it was just a bad year or whatever. Maybe the Rangers still have something. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. That rotation doesn't sound very intimidating, but you don't know what you're gonna get, like you said, out of Dane Dunning or I don't know, Arihara. Is that how you say his name?
Yep.
So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see. They'll be fun to watch.
So transitioning now to the mighty Pirates. What in the world, man? This team, I'm telling you, David, bottom feeders. This is going to be the worst team in the majors in 2021. I'm calling that right now.
Jay, I think this is a smart move on their part. They're so far from contending.
Yep.
So out there. I don't blame them for making this trade at all. They got a decent prospect, Will Crow, out of it, a guy they can plug in the rotation. And then Eddie Yeen is seen as the better of the – so they got 2 top 10 prospects for Josh Bell, who had a terrible year last year. They're not even anywhere close to competing. I think this is a great move for both teams, man. The Nationals had a horrible year last year hitting. They can plug him in there behind Soto, give him a little protection. Hopefully he becomes Josh Bell again. They've already got good pitching. I like this move both ways.
I completely agree with you. And Will Crow was the Nationals' top prospect there for a little while. He really was. If not the top one, he was definitely in the top 5. So they got some good guys back, no doubt, for sure. But the Pirates just stashing more prospects, man. That's what I agree with you. This is what they need to do. If you've got a guy that can get you 2 prospects like this, you do it. They've got to build for the future. They've got a long ways to go. This team's not going to spend a ton of money, but this is how they're going to build their team up and try to get some guys that can play ball for them. So the Nats are making some noise, man, and I like it by adding Bell, who was a 37 and 116 guy with a 277 average in 2019, the last full season we had. and also an all-star. He's got 86 career bombs in 5 years, all with the Pirates. So now to go with Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin. On the offensive side, you've got Trey Turner, Soto, Bell, Starlin Castro, Yan Gomes, and you got up-and-coming guys like Andrew Stevenson, Carter Kieboom, and Victor Robles. This team's not bad, man. The Nats they will be there, and this NL East, I would think, will be a very tough division in 2021.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that kind of transitions into one last thing. One of the last things I guess I should say, man, I hated to see my boy Howard Kendrick retire. What did you think about that, DJ?
So, yeah, I hated that too. 37 years old, call it a great career, 2006 to 2020. He was 5'11", 225, David.
A rock.
What a little stocky guy, man.
Ounce of fat on that dude, man.
Not an ounce. Not 1 ounce of fat. So, just a solid dude. Career 34 WAR, man. That's pretty good for him, honestly. 127 homers, 294 batting average, which is solid. That is very good. 1,747 career hits. That's not bad at all either. And in 2019, David, the World Series, he's a champion. He had a huge home run in the World Series for the Nats, man. Absolutely huge. Came up huge. Came up with the Angels from 2006 to 2014. Dodgers for 2 years after that. Phillies in 2017 for a cup of coffee before he ended with the Nats. He was MVP of the 2019 NLCS as well. Had 4 ribbies in that series and batted .333. So what a career, man. He was awesome. There's no doubt about it. Seemed like a real cool guy as well. So congratulations, Howie, on a great career, man. I couldn't, it was tough to see that because I wanted to see him play a couple more years, but I get it, man. You can last through 37. You've had a great career, man, no doubt. So,
yeah. Awesome dude, man. I hate, like, he was on my Yankees wish list for years, just a professional hitter. I know he wasn't the greatest fielder, but played multiple positions. Definitely sorry to see him go.
You got it, man. So, David, we're going to end the show with a few guys that we're going to talk about real quick for some free agent updates as far as some things we may have seen from a few different guys. I just kind of pulled out of a hat a few guys to randomly talk about here. To start with, let's go with Sugano, man. The deadline, I believe, is coming up Thursday, which is 2 days away. What's your prediction is going to happen here? Is he even going to sign? Is he going back to Japan? What have you been hearing?
My prediction is he's going to be in the AL East. I don't know if that's going to be the Red Sox or the Blue Jays. And don't sleep on the Yankees. I'm telling you, do not sleep on the Yankees on this one because he's kind of a poor man's Tanaka from what I can tell. I think he'll be cheaper than Tanaka because he doesn't have the major league track record. I would not sleep on the Yankees. But if I had to bet, I'm going to say he's going to be with the Red Sox. That's where I think he'll go. Okay,
wow. You're going Red Sox on that one. That's totally a move they need to make. I really agree. They need another pitcher, no doubt. If they could get somebody who come over here and just destroy the major leagues. He's 31 years old, so he's not too old. I just see the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, the Giants are in the mix. The Mets are out. He's 101-50 with a 2.34 ERA in his league. And I'm going to say a little sneaky move here. I'm going to say the Giants go out and get him. I'm going to say that they sneak in here and make one of their free agent acquisitions here and sneak in before the deadline. I'm calling Giants on that. Probably wrong, but I'm going to go with the Giants.
I can totally see it. DJ, how sad is it? And I'll make this quick, but every one of these you sent these to me pre-show, and really you can narrow down the free agent market to about 8 teams right now. And that's sad to me, man. It's like either you compete or you don't compete, and that's sad to me. I don't know what MLB can do to fix that, but there's nobody that I'm thinking, well, maybe the Orioles will sign them, or maybe the Rangers will sign them, or maybe the Pirates will sign them, the Reds. You know what I mean? There's nobody in that realm, and so it's just, I don't know, it's super frustrating to me.
That's a very good point because, like you said, it's the same 8 teams. You keep hearing everything about it. Like the next one here, the Nelson Cruz one. You hear White Sox. I mean, the White Sox are in on everybody right now. So that's one of the 8 teams you're talking about. Is if Edwin Encarnacion's not the guy anymore, you plug Nelson Cruz into the lineup for a year. I'd give him a 1-year deal, to be honest with you. I think I'd make him stick around for another year. He's definitely obviously a lot older now. So Rocco Baldelli, no doubt, has not been shy about this. He wants him back. And I really believe the Twins are going to make this happen. And my prediction, David, is Twins will resign Nelson Cruz. What do you think?
I agree with you. Actually, I'd love to see in that White Sox lineup, but I think that the White Sox lurking is going to make the Twins nervous enough. And I know what it is that's holding everybody back. Cruz is wanting that second year, and I don't blame anybody for not giving it to him. He's just too old for a 2-year contract. I don't care how good he was last year. But I agree with you. I think he'll end up back with the Twins.
That's honestly, I believe, the holdup with him right now. Another holdup is figuring out what's going to happen with the DH in the National League too. So are you dealing with 15 teams you can sign with or 30, you know? So I'm not sure they know that. And I think that's really hurting Nelson Cruz right now. And he may be one of the last guys to sign because of that until we find out what happens with the DH. But, man, I'm telling you, man, I would definitely love to see him on a contending ball club for a year to come in and just mash for my team. And anybody who signs him, you know, for 1 year is gonna get a stud. For 2 years, you might be taking a little bit of risk there, but we'll see what happens. No doubt with him, for sure. Now we're gonna fight a little bit. Trevor Bauer. What do you think is gonna happen to Trevor Bauer, David?
I think he's going to end up with the Blue Jays. I would love to see him go to the Angels, but the Angels are not going to spend the money. It's not going to happen. They've spent on Trout. They've spent on Rendon. They're just not going to want to sign another big, long contract. That's the move they need to make. They need to make that move, but it's not going to happen. I just have this feeling he's going to end up with the Blue Jays.
That's an interesting one. I think the Blue Jays need him. That's a good pick, you know, with Peterson and Ryu at the top of that right rotation right now. He would fit in there awesome. That would be a great move for the Blue Jays. I would love to see that, no doubt. But he's going to the Angels, David. This Angels team is going to start contending. This is who they're going to bring in. They're going to open the pocketbooks. They're going to make that man happy. They're going to bring him on in. That's what my prediction is for that. So he'll go there with Dylan Bundy just fine and Garrett Richards, and we'll go from there, and we'll get another starting pitcher, and the Angels will be right back in it. And if they expand the playoffs, the Angels are going to make the playoffs this year. This is the year, man. It's finally going to happen.
Is Garrett Richards a free agent? He's not even with the team anymore, right?
Yeah, you might be right about that. I think he might be gone. So you're completely right about that. Unless they re-sign him, I think you're right. He is a free agent. So
for all of our fans out there, I reminded DJ, who picked the Angels to win the division last year, because on the back of their pitching, now he was right about Dylan Bundy. 5.54 starters ERA, and that's with Dylan Bundy's good year. DJ, how terrible is that? That's awful.
Brutality, man. It's definitely their downfall. They've got to fix this, and Trevor Bauer would be a great step in that direction. Let's go, Angels. Get this done. So George Springer, David, I'm thinking we're going to agree on this one.
Mets
Blue Jays? Oh, no. I'm going Blue Jays. You're saying Bauer's going to the Blue Jays. I'm saying Springer's going to the Blue Jays. He's a perfect fit for this young team, a veteran presence who's going to come in and give you a lot. I think that he's a little high money-wise for a lot of teams. They're not liking $150 million. They're more in the 120 range with him, which is kind of holding him back from signing right now. But I think the Blue Jays really need him. And I don't think the Mets are going to do it. I'm not high on the Mets at all to get stuff done. And you called the Mets. Why do you think the Mets, David?
He's a perfect fit for them as well. Of course, he's a perfect fit for a lot of teams. But he is from Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken.
Good point. So,
the Mets need him. I would guarantee you the teams that have made the offer to him that I think they said was $130 million. I just think it's too good. It's too good of a fit for the Mets not to do it.
James Paxton, gotta admit, man, I have no clue where he's gonna go.
He could fit anywhere.
Yeah,
you can see him going to a team like the Mariners, for instance. Going back to the Mariners, they could use a guy like him. You could see him going to a contender, the Red Sox, the Yankees. I would sign up for a year of James Paxton if I knew he was healthy.
Yeah.
He's been mentioned to the Blue Jays. He's a Canadian guy. So, I mean, he could fit literally anywhere. The Twins like guys like that, They seem to thrive with guys like that. So I could see him going there. You could see him going maybe to the Braves. The Braves are good with reclamation projects as well. They need, they could use some stability. So, I mean, you could just see him going anywhere.
I'm going to predict Yankees, man. Like something just tells me they're going to give him a 1-year deal and kind of plug him in there. They need starting pitching. What do you think?
Like I said, if they're convinced he's healthy, sign me up for that all day long. I mean, that wouldn't bother me at all. If I had to guess on Paxton, yeah, I mean the Yankees are as good as guess as any. Like I said, there's every team. They ain't the Angels. The Angels would be a great fit for Paxton as well. He's been a good pitcher on the cheap. The Rays. He could fit there. But the Yankees are a good guess.
I did read the Angels are in on him too, David. So here we go. Bauer and Paxton. These are moves they need to be making. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes, man. No doubt. So we're gonna end our show with my boy Schwarber, David. My boy Schwarber. So
DJ, I've just got to ask. I pulled up his stats. Cubs fan, this is going to drive you crazy. I don't get the Schwarber love. I've never gotten it. I'm just not a fan of guys who hit 230. He's a glorified DH. Yeah, sorry. He had 38 home runs 1 year. Every other year he's been in the 20s. I don't get it, DJ.
We're going to fight a little bit on this one. We're going to fight a little bit. You're looking at batting average. I get it, and it's hard not to. But here's the thing that Kyle Schwarber does, David. He walks a ton. And so his on-base percentage is awesome. It really is. So he gets on base a lot, and he hits bombs. If he has a 2019 season like he did, he gets on base all the time, and he mashes. He's a great player. There's no doubt. He cannot play defense. His defense is horrible, which leads me to know that he's going to be a DH somewhere, which gets me to a lot of American League teams on the hunt for him, one of them being your Yankees, one of them being the Blue Jays, the Twins, the Nats, and the Angels are also all in on him. And also, the Cubs might be getting back. We'll see.
If he goes to the Yankees, I'll probably become a full-time White Sox fan. That'll blow my mind. It'll absolutely drive me insane. Where would they play him, DJ? They got Giancarlo Stanton, who can't walk out of the dugout without pulling his hamstring, so he has to DH. I just don't know what they would do with him. You got Clint Frazier. I don't understand why the Yankees won't just hand the left field job to Clint Frazier. But anyway, we're talking about Kyle Schwarber. I could see him possibly being the rebound, so to speak, for the Twins. You could see him fitting there. The White Sox could possibly use him as a DH.
Oh, please no.
Yeah. I don't really understand why he would go back to the Cubs. I don't really understand that one so much, but maybe if they could get him on the cheap. And I think he's going to be cheap. Again, that's just me. I just wouldn't pay a lot of money for him personally. But like I said, the Twins, the White Sox, like I said, you look at a team, like the Rays that value on base percentage, maybe DHing for them a little bit. So again, a lot of teams could use Schwarber. I don't want to throw him too bad under the bus, but I think Chicago fans might have a little jaded view of Kyle Schwarber. By the way, just so everybody knows, I just got to throw this out there in passing. DJ told me last week the only way he would trade Yu Darvish was if he got Mackenzie Gore back in it. Cubs fans, what are you thinking? One good year of Yu Darvish and you think you're going to get the best pitching prospect in all of baseball? Come on, man. I'm just going to throw that out there. A little
Oh, yeah, because he's totally a schmo, right? He was only the Cy Young Award winner this year. Yeah, he's the best. He was the best pitcher in the game. Last year,
y'all would have traded him for an ice cream cone. I don't even want to hear it. It's just so funny how things turn around.
That is true. I will give you that. Last year, Cubs fans, and all of you are guilty of this, so don't point your finger at me. You guys would have seriously got that ice cream going for Yu Darvish. All of you hated him, And then he became the Cy Young Award winner, and everybody loves him. Why are we trading him away? We're terrible, blah, blah, blah. So I get that. You are so right about that. We deserve to be punched in the face for that one. No doubt you got us on that one. I can't defend that, David.
I'm the same way as a Yankee fan. So everybody's a homer. Nobody can deny that they're not a homer for their team. So I get it.
Yeah, I am bummed they didn't get Mackenzie Gore in that trade. That still makes me mad. But well, David, unless you got something to add, buddy, we had a great show here. We covered a ton, for sure, no doubt. Next week, David, we will go over what has happened this week, and we will also start trimming down our Hall of Fame ballots. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to take 8 or 9 guys a week on the 25-man ballot, and we're going to talk about those 8 or 9 players, whether or not they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And we're going to fight a lot. So this is where me and David fight a ton. So you got to tune in for this one, no doubt. Hopefully a lot of things happen this week for the Cubs. They pick up a lot of players. Maybe they'll trade for Mike Trout this week, and then the center field job will be over. So we'll see what happens. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. It was a lot of fun. David, it's been a pleasure, man. It's always fun talking baseball with you, man. Even though your teams that you like stink, so we'll leave it at that.
DJ. The White Sox are going to be winning, and the Cubs are going to be tearing it down. So it's going to be a great year. Anybody who didn't watch the last episodes needs to watch it. DJ was almost in tears. His lip was quivering a little bit. I mean, I've never seen him that down.
Oh man, we got some moves to make, man. Let's go, Jed. Come on, buddy. You got a first place team here that was a 3 seed in the National League. Don't tear us completely down. Make this work, buddy. We got faith in you. All right, to our fans out there, we appreciate it. Everybody have a good night.
Good night.